Hello. Yesterday I was preparing my radio broadcast for actually January and doing a new series on the book of Revelation. And one of the first programs that I presented was 6 keys to understanding, or 6 keys to interpreting the book of Revelation. And I want to take a few minutes here just to give you an idea of what those keys are. If you're interested in any Bible prophecy, I think these particular keys will be very helpful in your own personal studies of the Bible as well. The first thing here is that the book of Revelation deals with things from the past, the present, and the future. That's important. You have to look at those things and examine the very fact that there are some things that have already taken place when the Apostle John wrote. Secondly, there are things that were present-day conditions of the church. For instance, chapters 2 and chapter 3 are talking about literal churches at that time. 7 literal churches that had members in it and had a pastor over it. And so he was dealing with them, but they are symbolic in one sense of being representative of churches today. And that's why I believe it is referring to the present condition, state of the churches. If you read those 2 chapters and those 7 churches, you hear that Jesus says at the end, "He that hath an ear to hear, let him hear what he saith to the churches." Not just that one church, but the problems that those churches had and the good works that those churches had are symbolic of what we have today. They're similar to what happens in our churches today. So past, present, and future. Always look for those events, and I like to call them conditions, because the condition of the church is important. Number 2, the book of Revelation is, in the most part, chronological. That is, you can pretty much follow it right along. It tells a little bit about the second coming and the events that are going to take place right on up into the millennial reign and also into the eternal state. And so that's important for you to understand. It's pretty much chronological, but there are some exceptions. There's a few chapters that we call informational chapters, and they serve as like flashbacks of something, or parenthetical chapters, and or call them informational chapters. And then there's also a few issues and references that are symbolic. Now, that's important for you to understand, but the entire book of Revelation is not a symbolic book. It's not left open to our own private interpretation. We've got all kinds of wild ideas of what certain verses mean. But you have to understand, this goes to my third point, those symbolic references are explained, and God tells us exactly what those symbols mean. For instance, there is a reference to a beast coming up and having 7 heads, and then one of his heads is wounded and is killed, and then it comes back to life again. Well, I've heard things like, oh, that must be John F. Kennedy. He's going to come back and raise from the dead and come back to be a leader or something like that. It's not talking about a man. Later on in the reference, it tells us that the beast is the Antichrist, and he's going to have 7 kingdoms or nations underneath his control. And one of those nations is just going to die, fade out. Like, for instance, Babylon has just faded out. Or, I'm sorry, Iraq has just faded out. But it could be a recovery of that nation. Of Iraq itself. So that's an important thing. The symbolic references are explained. They are understandable. If you got somebody speculating like that JFK, it won't work. Number 4, the book of Revelation gives us 2 views. Sometimes one chapter will give us a view of what's taking place in earth, and then immediately following that, the next chapter tells us what's taking place in the invisible realm, or the spirit realm, or what's taking place in the heavens at the very throne of God. And angels are identified. And there's a true invisible world, and there's a true spirit world that's out there that we need to understand. Number 5, give the same meaning to the words of Bible prophecy as you would to history, unless it's obvious that it's a symbolic reference or something symbolic, and look for the explanation of what the symbol is. But again, read the book of Revelation just like you'd read a regular book, a history book, or a biography or a fiction book. Give the same meaning to the words in Bible prophecy. He's not hiding his knowledge from us. He gave it. It's a revelation. He wants us to know it. He wants us to understand it. So when you read it, don't try to spiritualize it. Just read it for what it says. God said it so that you and I would understand it. And then number 6, understand that the book is not sealed. There are references in the Old Testament, like Jeremiah, who said the book is not going to be understood until the time of the end, the judgments of God. And Daniel chapter 12, that he questioned God and said, what does it mean? And God said, seal up the book, shut up the words of the book, and leave it there until the time of the end. Knowledge shall increase. People will start studying the Word of God, and as they study it, they will learn, they'll gain knowledge of God, and knowledge of His ways, and knowledge of His judgments, and all these events, and we are definitely living there. But at the very end of the Bible prophecy, the last book, the last chapter of the Bible, God speaks to the apostle after he has seen this entire revelation, and he says to him, seal not the book, for the time is at hand. And so it is important that we understand what the book of Revelation has to say, as well as all of Bible prophecy. Bible prophecy makes up 1/3 of the Bible. And I come from a circle of believers. I don't want to call it a denomination, but in a sense it is a denomination of Word of Faith, ministers that join together. And I believe in the Word of Faith message, and I'm so grateful and so blessed by so many of their ministries over the years, and I'll continue to be blessed by them. I'm not shutting them out. But they do have a weakness, and that is that they don't know much about Bible prophecy. They tell people you got to have faith in the Word of God, but 1/3 of the Bible they put aside. They just want to stay with the blessing part, the earthly part, the natural world part, and they don't focus on the Bible prophecy, the things that are going to come to pass. So I hope this helps you to just get yourself, I hope it just stirs you up to start reading the book of Revelation. It's an outstanding book, an outstanding revelation that God has given, and He wants His servants to know what the book is referring to. You have a great day, and God bless you.